The great hall of the Galactic Council shimmered with light, its towering pillars of crystal stretching into the shadows above. Hundreds of alien delegates filled the amphitheater, their scales, feathers, and shimmering hides reflecting the blue glow of the central star. The air vibrated with tension as the council chancellor, a towering corps general with obsidian skin and eyes like molten gold, raised his clawed hand for silence. "My honored peers," he thundered, his voice amplified across the chamber. "Let us end this debate once and for all. Humanity is gone. Their world is ash. Their fleets, scattered myths told to frighten hatchlings. The age of humans is over." The words echoed, then laughter. A chorus of mocking tones, buzzing mandibles, and resonant bellows filled the chamber. Some species clattered their claws against the floor in approval. Others sneered, high above, watching the broadcast from her diplomatic quarters. Lyra Vera, a young envoy of the Alari species, tightened her grip on the edge of her seat. She had studied humanity in the restricted archives fragments of their history. Records of wars where they fought against impossible odds, whispers of their ancient fleets that once sailed the stars. To hear the council laugh at them now, to dismiss them so icily, made her uneasy. Suddenly, the laughter died. A low-frequency hum rolled through the chamber, rattling the crystal pillars. Lights flickered. A sharp hiss of static tore across every communication channel in the galaxy, overriding secure links' private comms. Even military bands, a voice human, steady, and fierce echoed across the stars. "This is Captain Mara Sayeed, of the Terran Vanguard. We are coming." For a moment, time itself seemed to stop. The counselors froze in disbelief. A dozen alien races looked at one another, their faces pale or darkened, their eyes wide. The corps general's laughter curdled into a growl. "Impossible," he spat, his claws tightening around the podium. "Humans are extinct." But the voice repeated, this time clearer. "This is Captain Mara Sayeed. To the council, prepare yourselves. Humanity remembers." The chamber erupted into chaos. The next day, every news broadcast across the galactic network replayed the mysterious signal. Experts argued endlessly. Some called it a forgery, a trick by rebels or pirates. Others whispered that the humans, the most feared warriors of ancient wars, had survived, hidden somewhere in the void. Lyra found herself drawn to the restricted archives again. She accessed forbidden records, ones sealed after Earth's fall. Grainy footage played before her wide eyes, human soldiers in bulky armor charging across a battlefield covered in acid rain, shrugging off wounds that would kill most species instantly. "Deathworlders," she whispered. That was what the old reports had called them. A people born on a planet so harsh, its gravity so crushing, its storms so violent, that surviving a single day was proof of resilience. And these were the same beings the council had mocked. Her superior, Admiral Zerothkor, summoned her. He towered over her in his obsidian armor, his claws tapping against the polished floor. "You've seen the transmission," he growled. "Yes, Admiral," Lyra answered cautiously. "You will assist in the inquiry. But make no mistake, this is a trick. Humanity is gone, and if it isn't, we will finish what was started." His eyes glowed like burning embers. For the first time, Lyra felt a chill of fear, not of humans, but of what the Corps might do if the signal was real. Meanwhile, on the outer edge of the Orion Arm, a lonely listening post floated near a dying star. The outpost's sensors caught something. A massive object was slipping out of the dark void, emerging into real space. "By the Council," whispered one technician. The display filled with red warnings. The object was enormous, larger than any known warship. Energy signatures spiked beyond measurable limits. The feed broadcast across the galaxy. Billions of eyes watched in silence. The sensors strained to map the object as it materialized, piece by piece. Like a shadow forming from starlight, at first it looked like a mountain, black and jagged, larger than a moon. Then lights flared across its whole lines of fire, stretching into infinity. The colossal silhouette of a human dreadnought came into view. The alien council chamber went completely silent. No one laughed now. Lyra's heart pounded in her chest. The humans were not extinct. They had not vanished. They had returned, the alien delegates shouted, demanding answers. But before the Chancellor could speak, a new hologram bloomed in the chamber. It was a human face, pale skin, short black hair streaked with silver, eyes burning with cold fire. Captain Mara Sayeed. She leaned forward, her gaze locking onto the council. You abandoned us, she said. Her voice was low, steady, and carried across the galaxy. You left Earth to burn. And now you mock us? The counselors trembled. Mara's eyes narrowed, her lips curling into the faintest trace of a smile. You forgot about us, but we never forgot about you. The feed cut to static. In the distance, the Vanguard's main cannon began to glow, building energy like a newborn star. The galaxy's outer rim was quieter, so everyone believed. A remote listening post orbited a dying red star, its crew of insectoid Vrin technicians drowsy at their consoles. For centuries, the Council's fleets had hunted for remnants of humanity, certain they had been wiped out. Nothing ever appeared. Nothing. Until tonight. Alarms screamed across the station. Contact. Contact! A technician screeched, its mandibles clattering in panic. On the central display, a massive distortion in space-time, twisted like a wound in the void. Energy surged in waves, rattling the station's plating. The Vrin scrambled, claws tapping over consoles, trying to lock onto the source. Then came the transmission. The same voice that had shaken the council chambers now filled the outpost. This is Captain Mara Sayeed of the Terran Vanguard. Humanity is not gone. We are coming. The crew froze. For ages, the word Terran had been nothing more than a forbidden whisper, a ghost from history. Now it was alive, echoing across every channel. Impossible, hissed the commander of the outpost. They burned. We burned their world. Before anyone could reply, the distortion solidified. From the heart of the dying star's corona, a warship emerged, a vessel so enormous it eclipsed the station's view. It was forged of black alloy, scarred yet unbroken, its hull shimmering with strange geometric patterns. Energy radiated from its core, bending light itself. The recording cut off with a final, chilling detail. The human dreadnought opened fire. In a single blinding flash, the outpost was gone. Across the galaxy, trillions stared at their screens in horror. The forgotten warships of Earth were real, and they were awake. Back on the central world of the Galactic Concordance, chaos spread like wildfire. The council chamber had become a storm of shouting voices. Species that had once mocked humanity now whispered their names in fear. The word Deathworlders filled the air like a curse. Ambassador Lyra Vera stood frozen among them, pale skin shimmering with faint blue light under the crystalline dome. She remembered the secret files she had read, records of human soldiers who fought wars against entire empires, who survived toxic storms, crushing gravity, and endless predators on Earth. Counselors, boomed Chancellor Kiar Arthok of the Corps. His golden eyes glowed with anger. Do not be deceived. This is nothing but a machine, a relic of their savagery. The humans are extinct. This phantom voice is a trick. But even as he spoke, new reports came in. Whole fleets sent to investigate had been obliterated in minutes. The Corps Admiral in charge transmitted a final, panicked message. We fired everything. Nothing touched it. They are using weapons we do not understand, then silence. Another fleet reduced to ashes. Lyra's people, the Ilari, were known for their long memories. She remembered the stories told in whispers, how humans were not the strongest, nor the fastest, but they were the most determined. They had outlived disasters that should have ended them. They had built giant warships, not for defense, but for vengeance. Why had the Council lied? Why had they erased Earth from the records? That night, as she walked the empty halls of the spire, a soft light flickered across her wristcom. A voice spoke, calm and clear. Envoy Lyra Vera, it said. Do not be afraid. She froze. It was the same human voice that had terrified the Council Captain Mara Sayeed. I am contacting you because you searched the archives. You seek the truth. You deserve answers. The Council abandoned us. They left Earth to die. But we did not die. We endured. We built in silence. And now we return. Lyra's heart raced. Why contact me? She whispered, her voice trembling. Because you still believe in us, Mara replied. And because you will soon have to choose a side. Across the galaxy, fleets scrambled. The core armada, furious and humiliated, prepared to intercept the Vanguard. Their warlord, Zoreth Kal, sharpened his claws on the metal armrest of his throne. Humans, he spat. They dare to crawl back from their graves. I will burn them again. I will salt the ruins of their world. The Council convened an emergency session. Some species begged for negotiation, terrified that humanity's return meant war. Others, especially the core, demanded immediate annihilation of the human warship before more could arrive. But as the arguments raged, the galaxy's sensor net captured a chilling image, the Vanguard's hull beginning to glow with a strange light, as if it were waking from centuries of slumber. Lyra stared at the display. She could feel it something deep, something primal, not just a ship, a warning. The core warlord gave the order, attack. Dozens of alien cruisers launched toward the Vanguard, their engines blazing. The council chamber fell into silence as the feed switched to the battle. The alien ships opened fire. Beams of energy lanced across the void. Missiles streaked like falling stars. For a heartbeat, the human ship did nothing. It simply floated, its black hull absorbing the storm. Then, with a thunderous burst of light, the Vanguard came alive. Its weapon systems powered up, casting shadows across the battlefield. Thousands of alien eyes widened. The counselors whispered in terror. Captain Mara's voice cut through the static, sharper than any blade. You wanted proof? Here it is. The screen filled with light. The void itself seemed to hold its breath. On the far edge of the Orion Arm, the alien fleet of the core had formed a perfect crescent, their ships glowing like burning spears in the darkness. They had come in force dreadnoughts, cruisers, swarms of drone fighters, enough firepower to burn a dozen worlds to ash dot. And yet, they hesitated, because before them loomed something so vast, so ancient, so utterly alien, that even the core's warlike nature trembled. The Terran warship. Vanguard hung in the darkness like a mountain torn from the bones of a planet. Its hull was scarred and blackened, yet it pulsed faintly with a red glow, as though a star's heart beat deep inside. The vessel dwarfed the core flotille's shadow, swallowing entire squadrons. This is a relic, one core captain whispered, mandibles clicking. It cannot still function. Fire, growled Warlord Zoreth Kal. The void lit up with fury. Hundreds of plasma lances, torpedoes, and rail slugs screamed toward the human ship. The Vanguard did not move. It did not dodge. It simply absorbed the storm. For long, breathless seconds, the galaxy watched. Surely no vessel, not even the most advanced Council warship, could withstand such fire. The screens filled with white static from the energy discharge. When the glare faded, the dreadnought was still there, untouched. Its black hull shimmered like obsidian glass, reflecting the dying light of the star. And then, the ship opened its eyes. Gigantic plates shifted along its flanks, revealing rows of weapon ports that glowed with a cold, brilliant light. Across the galaxy, in the Council spire, alien faces twisted in disbelief. By the void, one delegate whispered, his voice trembling, "The humans are not extinct. Their fleet has only been asleep." The camera feed shook violently as the Vanguard's main cannon began to charge. A sun-sized sphere of light swelling at its core. Counselors. Captain Mara Sayeed's voice thundered across every channel. You left Earth to burn. Now you will learn what became of its children. The screen cut to black in the hours that followed. Panic spread through the network of civilized worlds. Markets crashed. Border fleets scrambled to prepare for what seemed to be an inevitable war. On the Alari homeworld, riots broke out as civilians demanded answers. Why had they been told that humans were weak? Why had their history been erased? What else had the council hidden? Ambassador Lyra Vera sat in her chamber, the words of Captain Sai echoing in her mind. You will have to choose a side. Her people were scholars and diplomats, not warriors. They had trusted the council for generations. But now she couldn't silence the image of that vast human dreadnought, glowing like a living god in the void. Could they truly have built this in secret? She whispered. And if they did, what else are they hiding? That night, her wristcom lit again. The same soft, calm voice filled the room. Lyra Vera, Captain Sayeed said, her hologram forming before the envoy. I see you still seek answers. Lyra's throat tightened. She nodded slowly. You're alive. Humanity still lives. But how? The records show. The records are lies, Sayeed interrupted. Her dark eyes burned with intensity. The council abandoned us. They left us to die when the Xeric swarm descended on Earth. They thought we would break, but they misunderstood what it means to come from a Deathworld. Sayeed raised her hand, and a holographic projection of Earth appeared scarred, broken, yet alive. Around it, a fleet of warships the size of cities shimmered into view. We left your council. We built in the void. For centuries, we prepared. Every storm on Earth was a teacher. Every disaster, a lesson. Every war, a forge. We endured what no other species could, and we became something you cannot fight. Lyra stepped closer to the hologram, unable to look away. If you are so strong, she whispered, why return now? Saeed's expression hardened. Because the core have awakened an old terror, and the galaxy you rule is not ready. Far across the void, Warlord Zoroth Kal snarled as reports of his shattered fleets reached him. So, the humans think themselves gods. Let us see if gods can bleed. He ordered the awakening of the Oblivion Array, a weapon of unimaginable scale. Hidden on the council's edge, it was said to draw energy from the collapse of stars. It's unleashing beams strong enough to shatter planets. Counselors begged him to stop. If the humans truly commanded the power they displayed, provoking them could doom them all. But Zoroth sneered. The humans are nothing but beasts from a poisoned world. I will show them the strength of the core empire. From her chambers, Lyra watched the live feeds of the battle. The core armada circled like wolves, but the Vanguard did not move. It hovered, silent, as though waiting. Then without warning, the dreadnought's weapons fired. Beams of impossible light erupted from its hull. Entire squadrons of core cruisers vanished in bursts of fire, their remains spinning into the void. The human ship did not miss. It did not waste energy. Every shot was perfect. By the stars, Lyra whispered, her hands trembling. They are fighting alone, and they are winning. But even as she spoke, a new alarm echoed through the chamber. The feed shifted to a distant world near the council's heart. Massive towers unfolded from beneath the planet's crust. Energy gathered at their peaks, forming a blinding sphere of power. The Oblivion Array was awakening. Captain Mara Sayeed appeared one last time, her hologram flickering in front of the council. You tried to erase us, she said, but humanity does not vanish. We endure. We rise. And now her image cut off in the void. The Vanguard's main cannon roared to life, its red glow spreading like dawn across the starfield. At the same time, the Chorus planet killer finished charging, Star of Annihilation burning above the Council's capital world. Two forces of unimaginable power aimed at each other. The galaxy held its breath. The concordant spire was built to inspire awe. Its crystalline arches shimmered with starlight, stretching above the gathered leaders of 1,000 worlds. Normally, the council chamber was a stage for endless debates and cautious diplomacy. But now, it was a storm. Every species spoke at once. The Velhan pounded their chitinous limbs on the floor in rage. The Ilari hissed prayers of fear. The Zel Dominion's delegates shouted accusations at the core, demanding answers for the fleets that had been obliterated. In the rim, the massive screen in the chamber replayed the same haunting moment, the human dreadnought. Vanguard emerging from the dying star, shrugging off the fire of hundreds of warships. The Council had laughed when the Chancellor called humanity a myth. Now their laughter had turned to terror. At the center of the chamber, Chancellor Zoreth Kal raised his clawed hands, his booming voice cutting through the chaos. "This is nothing but a trick," he snarled. "The humans are extinct. That ship is an empty relic, piloted by machines. The core will crush it, as we did their homeworld." But even as he spoke, the chamber shook with a low vibration. The massive viewing crystal above the dais flickered alive again. This time, the signal was clear. A human face appeared, Captain Mara Sayeed. Her eyes burned with quiet fury. Her voice, though calm, carried across the chamber like thunder. "You abandoned us. You laughed while Earth burned. But we are not dead. We are not forgotten. We are the vanguard of humanity." Every counselor froze. No one laughed now, and then Mara leaned closer, her gaze piercing every delegate as though she could see straight through them. "You will remember us. Whether you choose to, or we remind you." The hologram cut to static. The silence in the chamber was absolute. For hours. The Council debated in chaos. Some species trembled with fear, begging for peace. Others demanded preemptive strikes, insisting that humanity's return meant galactic war. "The humans are cursed," shouted a delegate from the Rilith swarm, her many eyes gleaming. "If they survive their world's death, then they are more dangerous than ever. They must be destroyed before they destroy us." The Tyrush sovereigns, tall beings with crystalline skin, raised their voices in opposition. "No. If the Deathworlders survived, they did so with strength none of us possess. Perhaps we should listen before we ignite a war we cannot win." Zoreth Kal rose from his seat, his massive frame towering over the assembly. His claws clicked against his armor as he pointed toward the screen. "Listen to them. These creatures once brought fire to our worlds. They slaughtered fleets, tore through defenses, and burned entire sectors to ash. We ended them once, and we will do so again. This time, there will be nothing left but dust." The chamber erupted against shouts of fear, anger, and desperate pleas for peace. Far from the center of the storm, Lyra Vera walked the silent halls of the spire. The young diplomat's mind burned with questions. The words of Captain Mara echoed in her skull. "You will have to choose a side. Why her? Why not speak directly to the entire council again? Was it because of her research? Was it because she had not joined in the laughter when the core mocked the humans?" Her wrist pulsed with light. Hands trembling, she accepted the transmission. The human captain appeared again, her face pale and scarred, but her eyes full of iron. "Lyra," Mara said, her voice steady, "you wonder why we return now? The answer is simple. The core have awakened something they should not have touched." Lyra frowned. "The Oblivion Array?" Sayeed shook her head slowly. "No, something worse. A weapon alive before your council even learned to walk the stars. The core think they control it. They do not." Lyra's throat tightened. "Then why not tell the council? Why not warn them?" Mara leaned closer, her voice a whisper. "Because they would never believe us. But you do, and when the time comes, we will need you." The hologram dissolved, leaving Lyra alone in the cold light of the spire. Her heart pounded. Choose a side. At the rim, the core unleashed everything they had. Their battleships screamed through the void, spitting fire and plasma. Yet every strike splashed harmlessly against the Vanguard's glowing shield. As though humanity had rewritten the very laws of physics, the human dreadnought finally moved. With a single pulse of crimson light, it unleashed a weapon that ripped through space itself. Whole cruisers crumbled in silence, torn apart before they could even register the hit. The watching galaxy gasped. To them, it was as if a god had awakened in the dark. In the council chamber, panic turned to terror. Delegates whispered of surrender. Others began sending secret transmissions to the humans, begging for protection. The unity of the Concordance was unraveling. Zoreth Kal roared, his voice shaking the crystal walls. "Enough. Bring the Oblivion Array online. If the humans wish to test their myths against the power of the core, then so be it. High above the Council world, the surface began to split. Massive towers, kilometers high, rose from beneath the crust. Each one glowed with searing white energy, linking together into a planet-sized weapon. The Oblivion Array had awakened from the Vanguard. The main cannon continued to charge, its core glowing like a rising sun. On billions of screens across the galaxy, 2 lights now burned, one red. One white facing each other across the stars. Ambassador Lyra gripped the edge of her seat, her breath shallow. She knew what was coming. 2 forces of impossible power were about to collide. And when they did, the galaxy would never be the same. The galaxy braced itself for annihilation. On one side of the void, the core's Oblivion Array pulsed with white light, bright as a newborn sun. It had once scoured entire continents from existence. Now its cannons aligned with terrifying precision toward the Council's capital world. On the other side, the Terran Vanguard, a black giant, loomed silent and unshaken. Its hull glowed with crimson fire, each pulse like a heartbeat in the dark. The humans had promised vengeance. The Council had laughed. Now, no one was laughing. Impact. In 20 seconds, a voice cried across the core fleet's channel. The array is ready. Billions of eyes across the galaxy watched the screens in horror. Planets that had mocked humanity now prayed to their forgotten name. Some fell silent, whispering ancient human battle songs that had survived only as myths. On the Council floor, Ambassador Lyra Vera pressed her palms together, her heart hammering. She thought of Captain Mara Sayeed's words. We endured. We rose. And now we return. The red glow of the Vanguard's cannon intensified. The light was so bright that even the counselors in the spire had to shield their eyes. It was as if a small star was being born at the ship's core. Then the screen went white. The Oblivion Array fired first. A spear of pure stellar energy lanced out, crossing the void faster than thought. Whole fleets had been destroyed by less. The counselors gasped as the beam struck the Vanguard's heart. For a moment, silence then. Shock. The energy did not pierce the dreadnought. Instead, it bent, twisted, and coiled along its surface. The ship's black armor drank in the white fury of the array like parched earth absorbing rain. The more the core poured into it, the brighter the human cannon grew. Impossible, one counselor whispered. Not impossible, murmured Lyra, her voice shaking. Human, with a thunderous crack that split the silence of space. The Vanguard unleashed its weapon. The crimson beam erupted outward, slicing through the core armada as though they were made of paper. Dreadnoughts shattered. Cruisers melted into glowing shards. The redirected energy slammed back toward the Oblivion Array itself. The giant weapon trembled, its towers collapsing under the backlash. A chain reaction began, white fire spilling into the void. Shockwaves rippled through the concordance. Worlds that had once called humans weak now watched the Quar's mightiest weapon torn apart in a single strike. Panic became terror. In the council chamber, voices cried out in disbelief. They destroyed it, shouted one delegate. No ship can do this. Another screamed. Not a ship, murmured an elder Ilari. A Deathworld warship. Lyra stood in silence, her eyes fixed on the fading light of the explosion. She could feel the shift. The galaxy was no longer the same. The balance of power was broken. For centuries, the Council had lived under the shadow of the core, believing they were unchallenged masters of war. Now, in a single night, humanity had shattered that illusion. Once again, the hologram of Captain Mara Sayeed filled every chamber, every screen, every fleet come. Her face was calm, but her eyes burned with defiance. You see now, she said, we are not myths. We are not extinct. We are the children of Earth, the Deathworld. You watched our home burn, and you turned away. You laughed. You called us fragile, but we endured. We learned, and now we return not as prey, but as predators. Her words echoed like thunder across the galaxy. On distant colonies, alien civilians trembled. On council worlds, leaders exchanged fearful looks. Some saw the possibility of a new ally. Others saw only the end. "Choose wisely," Mara said, her voice soft now, almost sorrowful. "Stand with humanity and survive the storm that comes. Stand against us and be swept away." The hologram dissolved. In the shadows of the spire, messages began to fly. Dozens of alien species reached out to the humans in secret. Promises were made. Old enemies of the core whispered of rebellion. Ambassador Lyra received another message from the human AI Athena. "Your people fear war," Athena said, her digital face flickering in light. "But fear will not save you. The core will drag you all into destruction. Humanity offers something else: unity, not slavery. Strength, not submission." Lyra's voice trembled. "And if the council refuses, then we remind them what we are," Athena replied coldly. On the rim, the wreckage of the core fleet drifted lifeless. The Vanguard floated among the debris like a predator waiting for the next strike. Then, slowly, its colossal hangar doors began to open. What emerged made the galaxy gasp. Thousands of warships, sleek, angular, bristling with weapons, streamed out in perfect formation. Each one was larger than a standard council cruiser, their black holes glowing faintly red, their engines burning like suns. The council chamber erupted again, but this time it was not laughter or scorn. It was fear. "How is this possible?" one delegate cried. "They have more ships than the Concordance itself." Another shouted, "This cannot be. No world could build so many vessels." But Lyra remembered the words, "We built in silence. We prepared for centuries." This was the Terran fleet, forgotten by all, but never destroyed. As the human fleet spread across the void, a new transmission broke through the Council's defenses. This time, it was not Mara, it was the voice of the Quar warlord himself. Counselor Zoreth Kal roared, his voice shaking with rage. "You see what they have become? You see what we face? If you will not act, the Core Empire will act alone. We will hunt them to the edge of the stars." Behind him, the camera shifted, revealing the planet-sized weapon of the Oblivion Array fully awake, its glowing towers burning brighter than the sun. The feed cut off, replaced by a live view from deep space. The core's second array powered up, its core blazing like a dying star. Across the void, the Vanguard's fleet finished forming ranks. Thousands of ships turned as one, their crimson engines igniting. Ambassador Lyra whispered, "The real war is about to begin." The screen went black. The stars screamed on every screen across the galaxy. The scene played out in terrible silence. The core's Oblivion Array charged to full brilliance, a sun caged and focused into a single beam. The energy was enough to hollow a planet into dust, to erase civilizations in a single heartbeat. The Terran Vanguard, black and silent, hung in the path of destruction. Its vast hull was a void in the starfield. Its central cannon still glowing crimson, building power with a terrifying calm. Then it happened. The array fired. A spear of pure white annihilation roared across the void and struck the Vanguard directly in its heart. The flash was blinding white fire swallowing the human dreadnought whole. Every council world watching the broadcast gasped as the screen went white. For a moment, it seemed over. Perhaps the council was right. Perhaps humanity had returned only to vanish again. Billions of viewers held their breath, and then out of the blinding glare, the Vanguard emerged. Untouched, its hull was alive with rivers of molten red light, as though it had swallowed the star's fury and made it its own. The ship's cannon now burned brighter than anything the galaxy had ever seen. On the council floor, silence gave way to gasps of fear. A Velhan general whispered with trembling limbs, They ate it. They drank the star." Lyra Vera felt her chest tighten. She remembered the old human reports, the words that had been buried. Born of a death world, they do not yield. They adapt. They consume. The humans had not merely survived, They had become something greater, far across the stars. Inside the command deck of the Vanguard, Captain Mara Sayeed stood at the center of her crew. Hundreds of human officers filled the chamber, their uniforms marked with symbols no alien could recognize. The human warship's AI, Athena, pulsed into being as a hologram beside her. "The energy from the array has been absorbed into our core," Athena reported calmly. "The enemy does not understand what destroys their worlds, only makes us stronger." Mara turned her gaze to the glowing heart of the ship. It pulsed like a living organ, resonating with the rhythm of Earth itself. "Good," she said softly. "Then let the galaxy see the truth. Let them see the Deathworld doctrine." A young officer, nervous but eager, looked up from his station. "Captain, the Council is watching. Do we strike now?" Mara's eyes burned with cold fire. "Not yet. First, we remind them why humanity was feared. Transmit the doctrine." Across the galaxy, every screen flickered again. A flood of human history filled the air. Images of Earth's endless storms, videos of volcanoes swallowing cities, creatures with venom, claws, and hunger stalking humans across their ancient jungles. Wars fought with fire, steel, and nuclear firestorms. The aliens recoiled. To them, Earth was a nightmare planet that should never have produced intelligent life. And yet it had. A final image filled the screen. A human soldier. Armor cracked, bleeding, dragging comrades through a battlefield of ash, while meteors rained from the sky. A voice followed. Not Mara's, but a chorus of human voices, past and present. Male and female, young and old, on Earth. We were born to struggle. On Earth, we were forged in fire. On Earth, death was a companion. And so we learned, survival is victory. Adaptation is strength. This is the Deathworld doctrine. Panic turned to chaos. Entire species began questioning their loyalty to the Council. Civilizations once loyal to the core now demanded peace before the humans turned their weapons on them in the Council chamber. Chancellor Zorith Kal slammed his claws against the floor. Do not be deceived. They are dangerous beyond measure. If you bow now, you invite your own enslavement. But an elder from the Siren Collective, their bodies shimmering like liquid silver, rose and spoke in a trembling voice. We cannot fight them, Chancellor. If the Oblivion Array failed, then none of us stand a chance. Perhaps we must accept their terms. The chamber erupted against some shouting for war, others for peace. Old alliances cracked like glass under pressure. In her private chamber, Elida Vida listened again to the fragments of the Deathworld doctrine. She watched the recordings of human soldiers enduring conditions that no Illyri could survive. Her people had always been taught that strength came from harmony, from avoiding conflict. But now, seeing the humans, she wondered if they had misunderstood strength entirely. Her wrist flickered again. The hologram of Athena appeared. They will not listen, the AI said softly. They fear us too much. But you see the truth. The core will burn the galaxy to ashes before they surrender. Humanity will not allow it. You must decide, Lyra. Will the Illyri stand with a sword against us? Lyra's hands trembled. She thought of the core's golden-eyed chancellor, his words dripping with hate. She thought of the human child in the medical bay, declared dead by alien doctors, only to gasp for life again under human care. Perhaps the Council had been wrong all along, while the Council argued. The core prepared their last card. Deep in the void, beyond the shattered fleets, something ancient stirred. The second Oblivion Array was not a machine. It was alive. A void leviathan, creature of cosmic scale, older than the Council itself. The core had bound it in chains of energy, buried it beneath their conquered worlds. And now, in desperation, they woke it. The galaxy's screens filled with the sight of the monster rising from the darkness. Its body stretched for hundreds of kilometers, covered in armored plates, eyes glowing with cold blue fire. Its roar shook the void, rattling even the Council chamber. The core warlord bared his teeth in triumph. Let humanity face a true child of the void. Let them be devoured. The Vanguard's fleet held formation, thousands of human warships aligning their weapons. The red glow from their engines burned like a storm across the stars. The void Leviathan opened its jaws, wider than a city, pulling entire asteroids into its throat with a single breath. On the Vanguard's bridge, Captain Mara Sayeed stood firm, her eyes locked on the monster. "Prepare the drop pods," she said. Her officers turned, stunned. "Inside the beast, Captain?" "Yes," Mara replied. "If death itself comes for us, then we will meet it on its own ground." The last transmission broadcast across the galaxy showed thousands of human drop pods, launching into the open maw of the Leviathan. Billions of aliens gasped. To them, it looked like suicide. To humans, it was simply the next step. The feed cut to black. The galaxy trembled. The void Leviathan rose from the darkness like a living mountain. Its body stretched across kilometers of space, scales glistening like frozen oceans, as burning with a blue fire that swallowed stars. Its roar was not sound, but a vibration that rattled the bones of every living being watching through the Council's broadcast. Feeds. The core warlord, Zorath Kal, stood proudly on his flagship's bridge. "Behold," he shouted, his voice echoing through the command deck. "This is power beyond anything humanity could imagine. The Leviathan is the end of worlds. Even your cursed Deathworld warship cannot survive this." On the other side of the void, the Terran Vanguard hovered in silence, its red glow pulsing like a heartbeat. The monstrous ship looked tiny before the cosmic beast, like a dagger before a mountain. Billions of Council citizens whispered prayers. Others laughed nervously, convinced the humans were about to be swallowed whole. Then, before anyone could react, the Leviathan opened its jaws. Stars bent. Asteroids shuddered. Entire chunks of space debris were dragged into its cavernous mouth, crushed to nothing in a storm of gravity and plasma. And yet the humans did not run. Instead, the Vanguard's colossal hangar bays split open, revealing wave after wave of drop pods. Thousands of steel spears shot forward, glowing hot from the launch rails, streaking straight into the monster's throat. "Are they insane?" cried a counselor in disbelief. "They're feeding themselves to it." Another shouted, but Ambassador Lyra Vera leaned closer to the screen, her pale eyes wide. "No, they're not fleeing. They're attacking from the inside." The galaxy watched in stunned silence as the pods disappeared into the Leviathan's endless maw. The drop pods burned as they tore through the Leviathan's atmosphere, slamming into the living tunnels of its throat. Hatches blew open. Human marines in black armor stormed into the creature's flesh. Acidic fluid splashed against their armored suits, sizzling and hissing. Any other species would have dissolved in seconds. But the humans kept moving. Their boots sank into the living walls, their rifles spitting streaks of red plasma that burned through alien tissue. Inside one of the lead pods, Lieutenant Arjun Vega grinned through his helmet as he charged forward. "Feels like home," he muttered. "Smells like Earth's swamps, too. Home." Another Marine shouted over Combs, gagging on the stench. "Yeah," Vega said, firing a burst into a wall of writhing tendrils. "If you grew up in New Mumbai during the floods, this is nothing. Just keep moving." The soldiers planted glowing black devices into the pulsating walls. Each device sank into the creature's flesh, humming as it drilled deep. Back in the Council spire, the alien delegates were in shock. They watched the humans carve their way through the living weapon, ignoring acid burns, ignoring gravity shifts, ignoring the monsters that swarmed its insides. "They're inside it?" A Zell overlord stammered, his wings quivering. "No one survives a void." Leviathan's stomach acids, hissed a Vryn scientist. But the screens showed humans fighting through rivers of molten acid as if it were rain. Their armor melted, their skin blistered, and still they advanced. Lyra whispered the words she had read in the ancient human files. On a death world, even the air tried to kill them. Pain is survival. Fire is memory. They will not stop. The chamber fell silent again. The mockery, the laughter, the arrogance all gone. What stared back at them from the screens was something no one had ever seen, a species that had turned death itself into a weapon. The Leviathan screamed again, and this time the sound tore through reality itself. Waves of energy rippled outward, crushing core ships in their wake. Even the Council's capital world felt the tremor, oceans surging against the continents. The beast thrashed in pain as the humans cut deeper into its body. Its tentacles lashed across space, smashing through fleets, ripping apart station hulls like paper. Millions of lives ended in seconds. On the Vanguard's bridge, Captain Mara Sayeed watched without blinking. "Athena," she said. "Yes, Captain," the AI replied, glowing bright crimson beside her. "Status of the charges? 80% deployed. Casualties? Irrelevant." Mara's jaw tightened, but she gave no sign of hesitation. "Good. Prepare for detonation." Alarms rang in the council chamber. The Corps shouted orders, demanding every fleet converge on the humans. Other species refused, terrified to provoke them further. The council was breaking apart in real time. Lyra stood in the shadows, torn between her duty and the truth. She remembered Mara's words. "When the time comes, you must choose." Her people, the Ilari, were peaceful scholars. They could never stand against the humans. But could they stand with them? As the delegates screamed at one another, Lyra slipped from the chamber, her wrist come buzzing. Athena's hologram appeared once more. "It is time," the AI whispered. "The Leviathan will not die unless we strike from within. Your council will not act. But you can." Lyra's hand shook. She stared at the screens one last time, watching the humans vanish deeper into the monster's body. They were fighting the impossible. The Leviathan's body convulsed. Its mouth opened wider, drawing the Vanguard toward its endless throat. The human dreadnought did not resist. It drifted forward, as though willingly entering the maw of the beast. On board, Captain Mara gave the final order. "All charges detonate." The screens across the galaxy erupted in fire. The Leviathan's body shook as explosions ripped through its insides. Sections of its armored hide cracked, spraying blue blood into space. The monster howled, its voice rattling entire worlds. And then through the smoke and fire, something else appeared. A second shadow. Larger than the Leviathan. Vast, dark, and terrifying. Its outline was not organic, but forged of metal and light. Ambassador Lyra gasped. The council chamber fell silent again. It wasn't just the Vanguard. Humanity had returned with something far greater. The void burned like a battlefield of gods. The Corps' second, Oblivion Array roared to life. Its towers glowing white-hot, dragging power from the heart of a dying sun. Energy lanced outward. A spear of annihilation aimed at the human dreadnought Vanguard. At that same moment, the void Leviathan screamed. Explosions tore through its body from within, detonations planted by human marines. It fought in the monster's burning veins. Blue fire poured from its cracked scales. Every screen in the Galactic Council spire shook. As the galaxy's two greatest terrors, the Leviathan and the human warship, faced one another in the abyss, billions of aliens leaned closer to their displays, their faces pale with fear. And then, from behind the collapsing Leviathan, a new shadow emerged. It was not alive. It was forged. Metal and light stretched across space so vast it blocked out the stars. It was larger than the Leviathan, larger than the Oblivion Array. A whisper spread across the council chamber. The Ark ship, Erebus Prime. The colossal human megastructure unfolded like a dark flower in the void. Spires of steel rotated outward, forming a massive halo around a glowing core. Entire fleets could dock within its arms, yet the ship itself dwarfed anything the Council had ever built. On board the Vanguard, Captain Mara Sayeed stood silent, her crew watching as their mothership revealed itself. Their eyes shone with pride. The Ark ship Erebus Prime was the heart of the hidden Terran fleet, the seed of humanity's rebirth. Athena's voice echoed through the bridge, calm but filled with something almost like triumph. The Leviathan's energy has been redirected. The Ark ship is awakening. The crew could feel it. The ship was not just a vessel. It was a world, a fortress forged from centuries of human pain, patience, and ingenuity. "Open channels," Mara ordered. "Let them all see across the galaxy." Every screen flickered once more. The image of Captain Sayeed appeared, but this time the background had changed. Behind her, vast core of Erebus Prime pulsed like a blood-red sun. "You wanted proof of our survival?" Mara's voice boomed. "You wanted to see the strength of a people born from a Deathworld. Look well, for this is the heart of humanity's fleet. We are not broken. We are not extinct. We have built what you feared most." She paused, her gaze sweeping across the council chamber, as if she could see the fear in every alien eye. "For centuries you ruled in arrogance, believing yourselves above us. You left us to die. But on Earth, everything tried to kill Ustarms. Fire, famine, war, and each trial made us stronger. This is our creed. Our Deathworld doctrine: when death comes, we endure. When enemies rise, we rise higher. When we are forgotten, we return." The silence that followed was crushing. Even the mighty core warlord clenched his claws, his jaw trembling. On the core flagship, Zorth Kal roared with fury. "Fire again," he commanded. "Drain the star. Destroy them." The Oblivion array screamed once more, releasing a second spear of light. This one was brighter, heavier, as if the galaxy itself might split apart under its weight. The weapon's beam ripped through space-straight toward the heart of the Ark ship. But the Erebus Prime did not move. Instead, its crimson core flared, swallowing the white fire into itself. The array's energy vanished, consumed by the human megastructure, like a breath drawn into lungs. The core warlord froze. No, this cannot be. On the bridge of the Vanguard, the crew braced themselves. The Ark ship's core now blazed with impossible power, its light flooding across the void. Athena's voice was calm, almost serene. "Energy absorption complete. Firing solution locked." "Then let's show them," Mara said. The Erebus Prime fired. A beam of crimson light erupted, wide as a continent, bright enough to paint shadows across 1,000 worlds. The energy cut through the void like a god's blade, striking the Oblivion array with apocalyptic force. The weapon did not explode, it ceased to exist. One moment, the planet-sized structure glowed with stolen starlight. The next, it was gone. Not destroyed. Not shattered. Simply erased, as though it had never been there. The galaxy gasped as silence fell again in the council chamber. Chaos gave way to dread silence. The delegates stared at the empty space where the array had been. Entire empires collapsed into panic, leaders whispering about surrender. Mara's hologram filled the chamber once more. She stood tall, her armor gleaming with the reflection of the Ark ship's red light. "The core would enslave you all," she said. "We offer something else. We offer alliance. A new order, led by humanity. A fleet strong enough to face what comes next." The counselors shifted uneasily. Could they trust the very species they had betrayed? Could they afford not to? From the shadows, Lyra Vera stepped forward. Her voice trembled, but her eyes burned with conviction. "My people," she said, facing the council, believed humanity was gone. "We were told lies. But I have seen the truth. I have spoken to Captain Saz. She does not come to conquer Yuishi, comes to save us. The core have unleashed a terror older than any of us. If we do not stand with humanity now, there will be nothing left to save." The chamber erupted with gasps. The core chancellor's golden eyes blazed with fury. "Traitor," he roared, his claws scraping the stone floor. But before he could strike her down, the chamber shook violently. The great crystal dome above them cracked, raining shards of light. The galaxy's broadcast cut to static, then returned, showing the void. Behind the Erebus Prime, another rupture in space tore open. But this was not human. The light was cold, green, and alien, spiraling like a vortex. From the rift, ships poured forth, not core, not council, not human. A third power had arrived. The alien vessels were vast, their shapes jagged and otherworldly, their hulls shimmering with symbols that had not been seen in 10,000 years. The council chamber fell into absolute silence. Even the core warlord's voice caught in his throat. Captain Mara Sayeed stared at the new arrivals. For the first time, her voice faltered. This is not possible. They were supposed to be gone. The green armada spread across the stars, their weapons glowing. A voice, ancient and cold, thundered across every channel in the galaxy. We are the architects. You were never meant to rise. Humanity should not exist. The screen went black.